Hey everyone, we are back now for our third session of Friday Flows. I'm joined again by Chris Kohanek. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great. How about you, Blake?
Yeah, good. Another happy Friday. Super excited for this one. This is a common use case. We see a couple customers of ours. Path AI has a great story around this. One of the large crypto exchanges does a lot with employee onboarding, offboarding. So I'm super excited to dive into this topic today. You know, it's one that we typically start engaging with security teams and exploring some of those common use cases around phishing or vulnerability management. And then as we explore those, the light bulbs start going off, and maybe some of the use cases that are tangential to security, but impacting them and how they engage with IT and HR start to come up. And with those, the most popular one, it seems by far, is around employee onboarding and offboarding. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the use case itself from your perspective, and then jump into one of the stories that our customers are using today.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of our stories and a lot of the operations that really lend themselves to automation. There's a lot of tools involved. There's a lot of swivel chair processes involved. There's a lot of repetition involved, and it involves an awful lot of operations. So onboarding and offboarding, it's going to happen for every employee that ever happens in your company ever. And it involves a lot of tools. Oftentimes, some employees need some tool sets, some need different tool sets. So making sure that those are managed, those happen on day one, and making sure that those are automated in a way that it makes the HR teams happy by not having to do repetitive work, that make the IT teams more responsive by not having to go to 5 different systems in order to onboard somebody in 5 different types of applications. And really what it comes down to is the new hire experience. In my previous DevOps experience, the developer experience was really important. Well, in the HR area and the recruiting area, the new hire experience is really important. So we want to make sure that that new hire on day one really gets all the tools that they need. They feel welcomed, they feel empowered, they feel ready to go, and you maintain that enthusiasm of the new hire all the way through the process.
Yeah, super interesting. We're hiring right now. It's fun to watch people come on board and not have to navigate too many manual processes. We've done a good job here setting them up, and they're hitting the ground running. But cool.
Yeah,
I'd
Tines
love to.
really runs on Tines. So we automate all the processes that we possibly can. And it makes I know it made my onboarding process go just that much smoother. So it was great.
Yeah, shout out to that series. I know that'll make our marketing team happy. There's a Tines on Tines series coming out of blog, so we'll point you over there in this video somehow with editing. But cool, I'd love to jump into an actual story here.
Yeah, terrific. Let me share my screen. And I'll do a little decluttering, and we'll start where I usually start, which is our story library. The story library is where Tines can share other actions or other stories that we have put together along with customers. So very often these are things that customers have asked of us. We have co-developed with them, and then we get to share them out with the general audience. When we last met last Friday, we were at 500 stories, and as we come to air here this Friday, we're at 514. So in a week, 2 a day, which is pretty good. Taking those Saturdays and Sundays off, we're rapidly expanding the stories that we can share. So if I do something like onboarding, there'll be 12 stories that match that query, and we can see that there are a number of great workflows that are already pre-configured that can give somebody some inspiration as to how to get started in an onboarding workflow. I'll pull up one of those. And this is one where we have used Bamboo HR as our starting point. So the workflow in a nutshell is we want to go to Bamboo HR automatically on a scheduled basis, probably once a day. Early in the morning is going to be good enough for this type of workflow. We want to run a report, get all of the new hires, find out who is starting today, and then start deploying those tools and those permissions, those access that we need in order for that new hire. So here you can see the HTTP request is going out to Bamboo. We have scheduled that action to happen at 9 o'clock every day. So any of the new hires starting today will be processed. That is filtered out by this trigger statement that says, if they're starting today, let's do these things. And then we're going to do a number of activities, whether that is going and creating a new user or reactivating that user in Okta, getting them a Slack logon, getting them a posting their information, their welcome message to the Slack channel, and creating a new Office 365 set of credentials for them. And it could be that these things go on and on. There are lots of tools that may happen. For example, I may want to add them to Jira. Fine, I will go to our templates, look for in Atlassian, go find things that have to do with user, and drag in, create a new user, add that to my workflow. And then I'll do a little bit of configuration for that organization's specific needs. And then great, we are adding users to Jira as they become part of the onboarding process, and that all happens automatically from here on out. So it's very easy with Tines to not only create these workflows, but also modify them as the organization's needs change, as we start to onboard new tools, or we have new types of employees come on board. We're able to modify the way that we do that. And if we already have really great processes already instituted, so in this case, I already had a way to add somebody in Okta through this send a story. So send a story allows us in Tines to reuse an operation that we've already created. So I had an operation that said, okay, give me who the new user is, or give me who a user is if they already exist, if there's already a profile for them. Let's just go ahead and unsuspend them. That might be a contractor or a seasonal employee that needs to have their permissions reinstated. If they don't already exist, let's go ahead and create that new user, activate them, and then pass that information back to the main story. So this way, I'm reusing work that I've already done, and I'm getting to that solution and that workflow faster.
Awesome.
Oftentimes, I might not have a really good workflow, or I might not have a really good user interface for creating a new user. One of the great things in Tines is we're able to create pages, and these are UI and kind of like a small application that allow us to bring in information and have kind of a man in the middle as part of the automation. In this case, HR asked me, all right, we have a way to do this in Bamboo, but I don't want hiring managers necessarily to be in the parts of Bamboo that allow them to create new users. Can we just create a page where they can enter this information? So that's what we're seeing here. This is a Tines page. We have a new hire information. I am coming on board, and I can even add in a list of tools that this new hire may need. So we can pass that information into the automation, and just onboard them to the tools that they need. Once the information is submitted, that goes out to HR Bamboo, writes that information, maybe even kicks off an automation on the back end. So it's a quick way that security teams that don't necessarily want to spin up new user interfaces, new pages, what have you. They can create quick user interfaces that meet their needs without an awful lot of lift. So I've got that new user in there, and when 9 o'clock rolls around and the automation kicks off, that new user, Chris Kohanek, he is one of the new employees that are starting today. And I have now been added to each of these systems, and there's a welcome message sitting for me in Slack. I've now got a new user in Office 365. I hadn't wired up that Jira service just yet, but I do have my Okta set up. So again, quick way that we can get these activities done without making somebody sit and bang away at the keyboard and make all those things happen.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for walking through this. And I mentioned, this is not necessarily this specific story, but this use case is very popular with our customers. Path AI being one of them. We'll point you over to that case study as well. But high growth company, lots of hiring in particular, and then offboarding when the time came. They're culture wise, their team does a really great job promoting avoiding manual tasks and trying to embrace the power of infrastructure as code. So really interesting case study there with a result of, I think they're now saving 45 minutes per onboarding request coming back to that security team. So spending their time doing a lot more fun stuff probably than that repetitive work. But we'll share the full case study to read through.
Yeah, in addition to the time savings, which is great, which is what we want people to do. We don't want them doing the solo chair work. We want them doing more important and more valuable work. But just as I think you mentioned it just in passing, there is kind of the inverse to this operation, which is offboarding, where we have a separation of an employee. We need to make sure that our systems stay secure, that we're mitigating any risks of having them loitering and still having access to any of the systems that have important data for the organization, where if you don't separate on the best of terms, they can do a little bit of damage. So certainly at the practitioner level, making sure that there's great time savings and their productivity is raised up. As you talk to some of the executives, what they're really interested in is making sure there's mitigation of that risk. So making sure that we are offboarding employees in a very systematic way, in a way that we can document and that doesn't leave any human error gaps in the process is really important to those folks.
Makes sense. Well, great. Thank you. Happy Friday, everyone. A little bit longer one today, but there's so much goodness here. And so if you want to go even deeper with your specific systems, ping us. Chris will walk you through a demo, or one of our other awesome solutions engineers here. And we will see you again next week. Thank you.